show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective.
Hello, fine tech people. This is the Annoying Tech Truth podcast. I'm your host, Andre, and today I've got a great subject for you. I'm going to be talking about the blockchain and the Web3 world. This idea was given to me by someone else. It's one of my LinkedIn connections. I was having a few exchanges this morning on LinkedIn with him, and I'm thinking, hang on a minute, this is a great subject to talk about. Now, I do have some very, let's call them interesting opinions on the subject, but I realize that sometimes I come out as a hater for this kind of world, and I'm thinking to myself, hang on a minute, that's not actually true. So why do I say that? Well, haters are generally people that don't spend much time thinking about anything, right? They just hate on something. They don't understand it. Now, I have no intention of being associated with that side. So I need to explain a few things basically. So I've been involved in the crypto world for a while now. I can't even remember exactly when I started. Must have been, we're talking about 2017, I think, towards the end of 2017, when there was an explosion of interest around crypto, and Bitcoin went for the first time to about 20,000, I think it was. I think I'm correct. I think it was December 2017 when I started, or even November when I started in this world, just to understand it, right? Just to be part of it and see what is actually going on. So what have I done? Well, I bought some crypto, obviously, like every regular Jane and Joe. You must have some crypto, clearly. But that is mainly for speculative reasons, not for anything else. But then I got a bit lucky because at work I actually had to work with the blockchain system. So I worked with Hyperledger, which is a blockchain system created and supported by IBM, which meant I had to work in the IBM cloud. Which was quite interesting, actually. It was about a wealth management platform, and I was building things on top of Hyperledger for a number of reasons. Blockchain is usually sold to us as a decentralized system, meaning where nobody can make a decision for everybody, right? There's no one unique owner or host or whatever you want to call it, someone who makes eventually the decisions and everybody has to abide by them. So that's what decentralized means. All the information is out there. It's spread on multiple nodes. It exists in multiple places. So no one person can influence this in theory. And I say in theory, and you'll see why a bit later. It's not actually quite like that, but that's how it's sold to us. Now, when you work in finance and when you work with money and you have to abide by financial regulations and you are an actual serious company in a serious country, at that point you have to do a number of things. You can't have a decentralized systems where you don't know who your users are. Right? You cannot have financial transactions without knowing where the money is coming and where the money is going. And there are many reasons for that. So you can talk about how evil the banks are or how evil the financial system is and money printing and all of that. And you'll probably be right. But at the same time, there's a lot of protection that we get for a number of these things. So for example, if someone somehow convinces you to give them some money, you have a very good chance of getting your money back from a bank because they know who you are. They know something happened. You can prove something happened and you can get your money back. So, and they will tell you, you try to send money to someone, they will tell you, dude, we need to check first. So who is this person? What's their account number? What's their sort code? That's UK, by the way. What's their name? And then they're going to go and check. So my bank always check these things. Say, look, dude, the name of that person that you gave me or the name of the company doesn't match their bank account. So at that point, some red flags are happening. You don't get anything like that in the crypto world. Once you send your crypto coins somewhere, that's it, they're gone. You don't know where they are. They're just not yours anymore. They're just gone. That's it. There's no way you're going to get them back. There's no way you're going to do anything. You're not going to track anything. And that can be actually quite dangerous for a number of reasons. But anyway, let's not get there. The idea was that for that particular project, we had to use Hyperledger because it introduced actual centralization while still using a blockchain system. We were interested in the technology. So that's the first thing I want to discuss. There's a clear separation between the crypto world and the blockchain, right? The crypto coins, everything you got today, from Bitcoin to Ethereum to Litecoin to, I don't know, many other coins created, because there's like thousands of them at this point in time, and they have been for a while, right? Those are a simple, I'm not even going to call them a financial mechanism. I'm just going to call them what they are. It's just people trying to get rich quickly, basically. You know, Bitcoin was created as an alternative to the financial system, and based on some financial crashes which happened in the past. So the idea was to give us an alternative, and I can understand that. It was a toy to begin with, right? And it was taken far too seriously after that by too many people. But if you put all that aside, if we don't look at this world from a pure financial aspect, let's look at it from a technological aspect. The blockchain technology actually introduced something very interesting, which is another way of doing things. Now, everything on the blockchain is immutable, which means it cannot be changed. But it doesn't mean things cannot change. Imagine the blockchain is, the name is actually very good. It's a chain of things, right? So you can actually change values via separate transactions. So for example, let's say that I own 10 Bitcoin, right? And there's a block on the chain, on the blockchain, which says that, okay, this person owns 10 Bitcoin, right? All right, awesome. The fact that the blockchain is immutable doesn't mean you will always own that 10 Bitcoins, right? You can purchase something with Bitcoin, and that becomes another transaction. And the next transaction said, okay, this person bought a pizza, and they then paid 5 Bitcoins for it, right? So when this transaction happens, you now own 5 Bitcoins. But you see what I mean? There's another chain in the link, which shows that transaction happened. So that's how you change entities on the blockchain, by making individual transactions. Those transactions, they cannot be changed, right? So they tell you, well, we don't have to use a database right now. And if you follow me and you follow my podcast, you're more than likely a software developer. So I'm going to talk to you like you are a software developer. That's basically a database replacement. You don't need to put your data in a SQL database, for example, right? And when you think about it, that's actually quite interesting, because we know very well as developers that most companies do not protect their data very well, right? How many times have we logged into a SQL server running in production and we've done something on that server? So you can do that at any time. Just because an entry exists in SQL doesn't mean it can't be changed, right? It's an update statement away. Done. Now, when you talk about the blockchain system, that doesn't happen, because every change is now properly audited. So every change is there to be seen, and it's spread among many other nodes, so it's not in just one place. So even if you change one, it's not going to match what's in another. So, and that's where you have issues. So that's why to me this is interesting as a development technology, because it does introduce an interesting change. Now the blockchain does come with other issues, and the main issue that I've seen in the past is the number of transactions per second. Now if the number is very small, and I'll give you some ideas. Before Bitcoin changed to the Lightning Network, I believe they could only do something like 7 transactions a second or something like that. I apologize if I'm saying rubbish things, but I think that's what happened at the time. Now, 7 transactions a second may not sound like a small number, but it actually is a very small number when you build a system that, I don't know, has millions of transactions an hour or a day. You can't do that when all you can do is, less than 3 digits of transactions in an hour or in a minute or whatever. It just doesn't work, right? It's not scalable enough. It's not quick enough. And that's what I've noticed with Hyperledger. It was actually very, very slow. But it was interesting. It was an interesting exercise. It was an interesting concept. Okay, and you will also notice that sometimes you'd actually use both. You'd use a blockchain system, but also a database, because you can't put, or you shouldn't put, in theory, too much information on a blockchain. It just grows out of control very quickly. Now, so this kind of shows my interest. I'm interested in the technology. I'm far less interested in the financial aspect, you try to make money or whatever. Yeah, that does exist, and it's actually quite a big world, and it has been a big world for a while. And you can see that if you go to I don't know, whatever website shows you the total market value, you will see a pretty big number. You say, wow, that's huge. It's not real, but we can talk about that later. So, what's my issue with this world? Well, I want to see value. I want to see something real. Okay, something that doesn't mean that you just own nothing. So let's talk about NFTs, for example. What is an NFT? Because I looked at that. We are quite big now on NFTs, aren't we? NFT that, NFT this. It's when you ask someone, okay, explain to me the value. Oh, NFTs. Look, artists can sell their work, and other people can sell, I don't know, their monkeys or whatever, images or whatnot. And I'm gonna be honest, I don't get it. I don't see the value. So let me give you an example. Let's say you are a painter, right? And you create paintings. Now, in the normal world, the non-Web3 blockchain world, you go and say, okay, I want to sell this painting. All right, so Mary comes to me and says, hey, John, you're the painter. You've done this amazing painting. I'm going to give you £5,000 for it. Brilliant. Here's the painting. Thank you for the money. What you have in your possession right then is the actual painting. Now, the NFTs are saying, well, this artist has created this painting, and they're going to sell their rights to that painting to you. So you're buying a thing on the blockchain, but you don't actually get the thing. So my first question at that point is, okay, so what do you own? And the answer is going to be, well, it's a digital asset. Well, it's not a digital asset. Well, it's a digital thing which is meant to represent a real thing, which exists in the real world, a painting, right? So you go and buy, let's say you go and give £5,000 to the same artist, and you get your NFT. Brilliant. But what you don't have is the actual painting. See, that's the point that I'm trying to make all the time. You don't actually own anything. You just own a thing which says, hey, that person owns that. Great. But they don't actually own anything. Which is my point all along. It's the same with anything else. Take images, for example, because how many times have we seen monkeys or crypto kitties, for example? Those are great examples of an actual use for NFT tokens and projects. And I'm going to come and say, no, I still don't see the value. Okay, let's talk about an image, right? So you have an NFT which says, okay, this person owns the image at this URL. Brilliant. So they are the sole owner of this particular image. You think to yourself, amazing. It's an image, it's mine. But here's the thing. Where is that image hosted? Who owns the hosting platform? Okay, well, you're going to discover that someone is owning that, right? What happens when a hosting platform goes down? Well, at that point, everything hosted, their old images are gone. That's it. You might have kept a copy of your image, but the URL that your NFT is pointing to doesn't exist anymore. Or even worse, the hosting platform is hacked and someone replaces the image at that address with something else. I don't know if I can say the word on YouTube, but imagine instead of your amazing monkey with a real crown on their head, your link, right, which is your own proof of ownership, now links to an image which is a representation of how do I put this nicely, a masculine organ, let's say a masculine anatomy part. Do you get my point? Or anything else. It's now, instead of a monkey, it's a picture of a car, because someone just hacked the whole thing and replaced all the images with cars, or just one car. Do you see what I mean? What do you actually own? Well, nothing. When it's an image, anyone can look at your image, great, right click, save as, done. It's on their computer. You can't stop them. You can't do anything. And they just own it. So from that point of view, does it make any sense for anyone to pay whatever, thousands of dollars for this, or pounds, or whatever, or millions in some cases? I'm going to say, well, no, not really. Unless you have more money than common sense, then fair enough. What you do with your money is your job. But still, it doesn't make any sense to me. So that's why I don't see the value in these things just yet. What I want to see is something real, a project which improves someone's life, which brings some value to the community, not just crazy words, used to fool people because they just sound good. Hey, that sounds amazing, right? We're gonna build the new Web3. Great, great. But what does that actually mean? So let's talk about this for a second. Okay, we know very well that a while back, Facebook, they changed the name to Meta, and they were talking about these Web3 worlds, right? So why the change? What is the Web3? So if you do a quick search and say, okay, I want to know what the Web3 is, or Web 3.0, what is it, right? And you can read a number of definitions. But let's look at what Meta said. And this is coming from Mark himself, the CEO of Facebook, right? We are a company that builds technology to connect people. That's what he said. I'm reading from an article from The Sun, basically, and this is from October 2020 and 21, right? The metaverse means a virtual reality space where users can interact with a computer-generated environment and other users. Okay, so that's the metaverse. So I'm thinking to myself, great, but we've been having this for a long time. This isn't new. So if you are a gamer, which a lot of people are, and they have been for a while, you know about these online worlds and you know about MMORPG games. MMORPG, it means massive multiplayer online role-playing games. They are virtual worlds where people come together and do stuff together, which is exactly what the metaverse is defined as. So, and we've had this for decades. This isn't new, right? If you think about what does everyone know? Let's say World of Warcraft. That is, based on this definition, that is a metaverse. People come together, they can dance, they can talk to each other, they can spend time together, they can get together in a guild hall or whatever. And it's not the only example. But do you know what happens when a world like that gets shut down? You lose everything. You don't actually own anything. Digital ownership means nothing, which is my point, So Facebook is trying to say, oh, we're going to have shops inside this world. All right, great. So I'm going to buy shoes, except they're not real shoes. They are shoes which exist inside an online world. Now, that is a concept that also we've had for quite a long time. Okay, these days it's become actually quite big. And if you're a gamer, you know what I'm talking about. If you start thinking about microtransactions and skins and all that kind of stuff, that's what you get. That's basically it. Your digital ownership is that. But again, my question is, what happens when the world gets shut down? We're going to say, well, this world is never going to get shut down. Really? Why? Because big companies don't shut down projects? And there's another question. When a company talks about the metaverse, which metaverse are we talking about? Because anyone can create an online world. I mean, you, the listener to this episode, you can go and create an online world probably in about 10 minutes, if that's what you want. It's not that hard, actually, especially for someone who's a software developer. There are enough free tools that you can generate a world very quickly. It doesn't take much, because we've had this. We've had this for decades. This isn't new, right? So I'll give you an example. The first MMORPG that I played many years ago, it was called Asher and Call. So you would go and you'd fight things and you'd own things. You'd have your items, your armors, your weapons, your whatever. But that world got shut down. And when it did, everything inside it disappeared with it, because it's not, it's a digital world. Each game creates their own version of a digital world. Each company creates, or they pretend to be working anyway, on their own version of this metaverse. So when a company talks about the metaverse, what are they talking about? Because it's not just one, right? A Facebook version is different from IBM's version, which is different from Google's version. In theory, right? Okay, they might come and say, well, actually, no, we're going to create one metaverse for everybody and everybody's going to hook into it and that's it. Okay, so who owns that world? Who hosts all this? Who provides the power, the service, the machines, the technology, everything? Who builds that world? Who owns it? Is it going to be Facebook? So you want me now to go and put my faith into Facebook and their metaverse? Yeah, I don't think so. So my issue comes from a lot of angles, basically. Who owns it? Because someone always owns it, when even they don't specifically say it, but it's still there. Someone has to own it, right? Someone has to own the technology. Someone has to own the service, the cloud, or wherever this world lives. Someone owns it. Someone pays for it. Well, if they control it, that means they can do whatever you want. And we know what happens when companies can do whatever they want, right? Because you look at the social media platforms, people are banned, people are shut down, people are kicked out. They control all these kind of things. And yeah, these are some of the reasons that I have some issues. And I'm not actually a believer in this kind of stuff. You know, the virtual worlds were created by gamers. And while they were created to gain money for the people who created them, the companies that owned them, granted, they were mainly for our benefit as gamers, to be able to get together and do stuff together and spend some time together, talk to each other and all that kind of stuff. This is why many other platforms appeared, like Discord, like I don't know, any other communication platform, because people want to talk to each other, right? So this brought us together, basically. And at some point, I guess the big companies noticed. So hang on a minute. These people are paying a lot of money on microtransactions. They're buying skins. They're buying things which are not real. But what they forget is that we actually get something in return. There's also a game there. There's an experience. So when we talk about the metaverse, okay, what's the experience? What are we doing? Oh, you get people who can get together and dance. Really? So you're telling me that people are going to spend their days and hours and weeks and months and whatever getting together in an online place just to make weird moves on a screen and look at other people doing the same thing? Don't get me wrong, this has always been part of the MMORPG world as well, but that was an addition to the actual game, where people would get together for a raid, for example. They would go and kill the big bad monster, and then they would come back and celebrate. Hey, look what I've got. And everybody would dance and say, hey, nice, well done. But if you take all that away, what do you have? And that's my question. What do you have at that point? I don't see anything. So I might be wrong. I don't know. I might be completely wrong on this one. So I hope that I'm going to get a few more comments. I mean, the podcast is growing a little bit. It's not very quick, and there could be a number of reasons for that, but I hope I'm going to get a few comments about this specifically. What I want you to do, think about it, and let me know what you think. Don't just start believing what a company tells you, because they will give you the selling speech, you know, say, oh, it's going to be awesome. But no, think, why is it going to be awesome? What exactly are you providing? What benefit am I getting from this? Think about it and let me know what you think. Thank you very much, and I will see you next time.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate